Ekale, Ekaro, Ekason. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Wherever it is you're watching me today, I say good day to you. 5 interesting facts about the old Oyo Empire. This is what I want to talk to us about today. I want to just open our eyes to how things were in the old Oyo Empire. Number one interesting fact is that the Aremo, which is the firstborn male child of the king, was always forced to die alongside the king. Whenever the king dies, the Aremo also has to die. This was a rule made by the Oyomesis, so the crown does not only revolve around one family, because 3 major families are entitled to the throne in the Oyo Empire back in the days. So they always do this so the crown can go round, if you know what I mean. So whenever the king dies, the prince also has to die. It was a must that time. Except the king does not have a male child, then the children are free. So whenever the king dies, the firstborn male child must also die. So the crown can go to another family. That was how things were done then. The second fact about the old Oyo kingdom is that the Bashorun title of that time, although it is a Yoruba traditional title in the old Oyo Empire, but history shows that most of the people that were Bashorun of the old Oyo Empire were all of Bariba descent. This was because Bariba people were very, very strong allies of Oyo Empire. They were the cavalries of Oyo. Whenever Oyo is stranded in a war or something, the Bariba people were the one that comes as cavalries. So they come to the rescue. So they were in close alliance with the old Oyo Empire. So the strongest people in the Bariba were all living in the Oyo Empire. So most of the Basharuns in the old Oyo Empire were of Bariba descent. In fact, it almost looks like the Basharun title was only meant for Bariba strong people. I'll give us an example. Basharun Yamba, Basharun Magaji, Basharun Guy himself, and even the one that came after Guy, which is Basharun Kongidi. All of them were of Bariba descent. I mean, there's a saying in Yoruba that says, yes, they've lived for a long time in the Yoruba land. So technically they are like Yoruba people. But when we're talking about lineage, like descent, all of these Basharuns, and they were the strongest Basharuns in the old Oyo Empire, all of these Basharuns were Bariba descent. So it wouldn't be wrong to say Basharuga actually ascended the title that his forefathers were already in, if you know what I mean. The third fact I want to talk to us about is that the Oyo Empire, even up till now, consists of 7 wise men that are called the Oyomesis. Now, these 7 wise men were set up to always check balance the king whenever the king messes up. They were the one that check balances whatever the king was doing. They were so strong. They are so strong. Don't let me use were because they still exist. Just after the Ogbonis, it's like the Oyomesis are after. Whatever the Oyomesis says is what is probably going to happen in the whole Oyo Empire. Now, these Oyomesis, they have special names. These special names are Shikpa, Akiniku, Laguno, Alakmini, Ashamu, Agbaki, and finally Basharon, who is always like the leader of all the Oyomesis. Now, Basharon is always the kingmaker. He always chooses whoever the king is to be. Whatever the Basharon says is what happens. And this is what they portrayed in the movie Basharon that was released recently on Netflix. So it wasn't only Basharon that made himself like a kingmaker. The Basharon title is like the prime minister who is always choosing kings. I mean, they must have consulted the Ifa and stuffs like that. But the Basharon has the final say when it comes to who will be king of the Oyo Empire that time. The fourth fact I want to talk to us about is, I mentioned the 7 Oyomesis that were existing and still exist in the Oyo town today, the Oyo Empire of that time. Now, one of these Oyomesis also has to die whenever the king dies, and this is the Ashamu. Ashamu is always like the king's confidant, the king's trustee amongst the Oyomesi. This was done whenever the Oyomesis decide the king is not doing what he's supposed to do, or maybe he's not fit enough. The Oyomesis usually tell the king to kill himself or something like that. And whenever this is done, the Asham also has to die because he's the king confidant. So he has to die. This is to avoid any overthrow or any attack from the Ashamu because he's the trustee of the king. The fifth and final fact, did you know only the Dahomis people were paying approximately, if they were paying today's money, what they were paying to Oyo Empire as taxes was about $14 million. Yes, $14 million. Tell me what you think about all of this in the comment section below.